Hey folks, this is Picohan on the NA server, and this is the Tier 5 French battleship, the Bretagne. So, the special thing about the Bretagne is that there's basically nothing special about it. It's a very average battleship. At Tier 5, it's not very big, it's very slow, it's got 10 guns of moderate size and a moderate amount of armor. The 10 guns are ABQXY, which is again very common. New York has it, the Koenig has it, and the Iron Duke has it as well. Overall, here at Tier 5, the only ships that really break this average battleship mold are the Congo and like the Caesar and maybe the October Revolution. But even the October Revolution is really slow with like moderate armor. If you look at this thing in the armor viewer, the layout is actually very weird. It has basically a patchwork of plating at different thicknesses, and I'd never seen it before in any of their battleships. But the moral of the story is it seems to have a lot of medium thickness plate, which means you can, if you stay angled, you can probably bounce a lot of things, but as your angle gets worse, you're going to eat shells at less sharp angles than ships with thicker armor. So this match is Epicenter on Trident, and a shout out to my divmate QQ Moore in the Emily. If you saw the matchmaking, it's a fairly light Tier 7 game, but a Tier 7 game nonetheless, and this is of course what you're going to get in Tier 5 these days. If you thought you were going to get Tier 4 and Tier 5 game, ha ha ha, not happening. So, what do you do in a slow battleship? You try to stay near the middle map and shoot at most opportune targets. The ship has decent range, decent accuracy, decent penetration, so you can blap those cruisers even if they're pretty far away if you can hit them. All of these things, there's nothing that bad. Again, there's just nothing really to write home about. A 4,000 damage salvo on that Congo at 16 kilometers, like, that's decent. I'm not really complaining. So, as usual, we're trying to use this island to limit the number of enemies that can shoot at us. I was originally going to try to get closer, but it looks like there's actually a lot of people on this side. So, yeah, let's not do that. There is a carrier in this game. One thing that the Bretagne has that a lot of the other Tier 5 battleships don't have is decent AA. It's not quite as much as the Texas, but I think it might be second best, and then maybe the Iron Duke after that. Anyway, since a lot of Reds are behind that big island now, this is a really good place to just kind of hold the position a bit and try to farm some unsuspecting XP pinatas like that New York. 6,000 damage at 15 kilometers, again, pretty solid. Now I say hold position, but I don't actually want to stop entirely, especially when there's like stealth torping destroyers here, but there are some people screening ahead of me there. As long as the priority target indicator is not telling me some huge number, I'm just going to hang around here, and for some reason, nobody wants to shoot at me. The New York took another 7,000 because he was standing still. In between shots, I'm trying to shop around for better targets, like the Emily here. But I think he's going to turn. I'm not going to get a very good salvo. Yeah. 2 or 3 over pens. French cruisers do have some amount of spaced armor, so that can be kind of trollish if they're angled. Also, I say keep a central position, but the second ring or so of the epicenter is basically good enough. You don't want to be like the Bretagne, who went right into the middle, and he got focused, and he died. 4,000 in the Cleveland, again, not bad. He was a bit closer, but he was also maneuvering. So, right now, there's not really that much to see. Both teams are even and not really making any progress, so there's not really that much incentive to make a push or anything. Rather, I kind of want to wait here, as long as people aren't doing anything to me, and look for targets of opportunity to knock down the ship count, and such that eventually you can make a push. In fact, I like this position so much, given what the Reds are doing, just driving broadside back and forth, that I'm actually backing up back toward the center. They do have destroyers and stuff, but I do have a little bit of a screen, and I'm far enough away that I'm not that worried. And we took out that Cleveland, which is the sort of thing I'm looking for. By the way, this is the Unicum way to play this game. If you have the time, you back up towards objectives such that you can make a quick escape if you need to. And this is especially relevant for things like IJNDDs, where you can't actually win gunfights, and so on and so forth. In fact, you can see, possibly due to our being here, that we've actually pushed the Reds kind of out of the middle ring of the epicenter, such that we've been able to cap 3/4 of it even. But the Bushin or whatever is probably still blocking the last quarter. Okay, now this is actually pretty good. The Algerie is coming towards us, and the guns are reloaded, but since he's angled, I didn't quite want to shoot yet. If you look at the minimap, he needs to turn to our right to get out of this position, because if he turns left, he's in front of that island and he's going to broadside everybody. So, anticipating this, I waited, and he did make that turn, and we blapped him. Now, I'm finally starting to leave this position because the enemy west flank has finally come around the edge of this island, and they're starting to shoot at me, and I don't want to get into a crossfire. Originally, I wanted to try to get to the island at E6 so that I could shoot at the pushing flank without giving broadside to the guys in the south. But a fortunate thing happens here. They get a team kill, and then a couple other ships die suddenly, and it suddenly feels like there's few enough ships there that I don't need to do that. The Leander's backing up. We shoot just as he drops off, and this is the perfect time, and we blap him. Now that we've knocked out some of their ships, I want to try to start pushing the advantage. If you see, all the enemy ships in the south are going to the west, So I want to try to push up to this island and get closer. And then if they also do anything else weird, I can use that island as cover. I'm still shooting at the New York because I want to help out the friendly there. The 3,000 in the bow, that's pretty good. You'll see I aimed high to try to get into the superstructure since we'll probably just bounce on the nose. The New York does show a good broadside here since he's brawling with the friendly battleship. And we're going to get a pretty good salvo, but he only has a couple thousand hit points left anyway. And just like that, we've actually captured the center of the epicenter, and the game looks fairly secure. The best target now is, of course, the low health Algerie. He might be the guy we citadeled earlier, but since there's nobody else but the Leon, I'm just going to fire at him just to use the guns on cooldown. You don't ever get any damage from the shots that you never take, but that shot was worthless anyway. Looking at the minimap, carrier does show up. I don't think it's too important to focus him when the Algerie is actually in a good place to get shot, and the carrier is headed towards our Colorado and the other battleship over there anyway. Algerie's backing up for some reason. It looked like at the last second he was slowing to go forward again, so I aimed forward, and that was a good prediction. Now we can turn our attention to the carrier for a bit, since the Leon is far away, Congo's behind an island. I was so sure I would get the kill on this to get the Kraken, but I think someone's gonna secure it before my shells hit. So, looking back the other way again, the destroyer tries to smoke us or something, but after smoke firing nerf, it's not really useful to smoke battleships anymore. So don't do that unless they're really low and they need to drop off. This upcoming engagement with the Leon is a good example of how much damage you can do to a higher tier battleship if they're messing up, but also how spiky the damage coming into the Bretagne can be. Of course, I ask if he'll ram because I want the Kraken, but he's not having none of that. We do get some cap points on the second and third ring. This is a good moment to look at the firing angles on all of the turrets. Unlike the New York, where the center turret is really constrained, all of the turrets can get a pretty good angle on the Bretagne. Also, much like a lot of the Tier 5 battleships, the ship is very maneuverable, even though it's slow, and you can mitigate a lot of damage by A, angling, and then B, maneuvering even a little bit between the shots. And so you can see between me and him, we're trading pretty evenly, but as he drives further to the north, I'm not being that disciplined about my angling, and the angle is getting worse for me. And you're going to see the Leon take his final salvo here. And basically, we opened up just enough that it blapped almost a quarter of the health. So 110k damage, that's pretty good for tier 5. We got Confederate, we almost got a Kraken, and we did get 3 cap assists as well. That made for a pretty impressive score of 1800, which is 50% more than the second place guy. And we're a tier 5 and a tier 7 game as well. The details isn't actually interesting this time. We shot all AP, did nothing else. We got some citadels here and there, but that's pretty much it. So that's the Bretagne. Have a nice day.